participate in any political activities. So Sidney Barnes agreed. He said, but you go anyway and sit down anywhere in the church, the St. Philip Church, which I went. But I did, he wanted me to represent the city of Savannah. But being a semi-political rally at St. Philip Church, I didn't actually actively participate, because I wanted my job. And hunger means make a man think. Mm-hmm. Hunger make a man think. Any questions?
How was this? Well, I know you started to talk about the civil rights movement. How was the civil rights movement during the time when you were in the police force?
The civil rights movement in Savannah went along smoothly compared to other cities. I was the arresting officer of over 800 and some participants. I was made the arresting officer because when the young men and women were arrested, we had some police officers who put them in a patrol wagon and rode them down River Street. River Street was rough at that time and real hot. It was keeping them. And they made me the arresting officer at all locations. I put down the time they entered the cruiser, and the amount of time it took them, supposed to take them to jail. So that broke up the so-called cruel punishment with the children and the individuals. And like we told the individuals, a lot of them in the beginning children was infuriated. But I said, we are not free either. Y'all fight for my rights as well as your right. For example, right at the Morrison cafeteria at Bryant and Gullah, they were serving the white officers steaks and what have you, and want to give us Coca-Colas and a hot dog, the blacks who was working there. So we refused. Said, if you couldn't give us what you're serving the white officers, don't give us nothing. So Morrison's closed right at Bullen Drake by the big bank, closed down, and had quite a few other places closed down because during the demonstration, children were marching. Now, we had some officers who were Dick Gregory came to town right on the corner of 46 and the club on 46 and Montgomery. He was there eating. I forgot the name of the place. And a white fellow called me named Williams, who was a Ku Klux Klan. He had a list of names of young white boys who were black in their face and created a lot of havoc in the community and blamed it on blacks. And he called me and said I was the most honest person that he knew of, departmental-wise, and for me to give this name to the chief of police. So he was, Chief Ryan, Leo Ryan, was sitting with Dick Gregory at the lunch counter at that little restaurant, and I heard him ask, Dick, why are you here in Savannah and eating at a greasy spoon like this? He said, I'm doing it for the rights of the individuals. And I turned, I went to give him the letter, and he told me to go, instead to take it and stick it under his door on Harrison and what you call it, Harrison and Overthal. And everywhere Dick Gregory went, I had to go back and arrest young teenagers, you know, for demonstrations. But one of the most hilarious times was Crystal Restaurant. It was on the corner of Whitaker and Bryant Street. And I was called there. His beautiful young children, about 12 years of age, walked in. They were working with NACP. So I went to grab them to put them in jail. No, I grabbed the young girls and brought them to the door. And these two other young girls, same age, well dressed, walked in and went to the end of the counter and sat at the counter. So I started over to get them, and a big burly man with the bib overall, cigar in his mouth. Boy, if you touch them girls, I'll beat your so-and-so. He said, there are customers here. At the first counter was an Indian, a British officer, and a Chinese officer. They were sitting out and they were shaking their head. He said, then the manager came up and said, yes, said, these young girls are customers. Their parents apparently worked downtown at the time, and the girls were going in there integrating the place all before the integration. I said, and these United States is so funny, and everybody laughed. And it was hilarious, because that man was serious. He would have beaten me to death. I mean, big as he was. It was one of the hilarious things, and showing it that even though the children were wrong per se, they were right in the eyes of him. And that's why you never judge a book by its cover. But you got to read the contents of it. Then you know exactly how people feel. Because this is the question right now I've been taking for a ride for. Have any of y'all ever heard of Buzzard Siegel?
Buzzard Siegel.
Road at the foresters at that time. We stayed in a little room adjacent a grocery store that was our precinct. Had a sergeant for 3 different shifts. Some of the sergeants could not even read and write, but they were sergeants. But they were nice men because they were called other words that it shouldn't be called today, because of associating with us. Even our training officer, Lieutenant Ward, he was called N. Lover because he trained us. But he said to us, you're going to be an SOB if you do, you're going to be an SOB if you don't. So be a best FOB. Our chief of police at the time stated the same thing. And 6 months after we got on the police force, he stated, overlaid, it's in the law, the Toronto Morning News, if the other 109 police officers were half as good as we were, he would have the best force in America. Because we were making arrests right and left of everything. I've been shot at so many times, I can't count it on my hand. But I'm here.
That's all right.
I had a woman kill 2 women in 1954. I was standing on the corner of Gaston and West Broadway. I talked with her earlier, and she stated her husband was supposed to bring me some squirrels. He went hunting and rabbit. And I was selling tickets for the Marine Corps League, which I was wrong on duty at that time, because we had the Marine Club right in Gaston and West Broad, and we was rattling off a radio console at the time, and I was selling it. I had a lady to stand up in case the sergeant come up to say she was selling the tickets for it. Anyway, I heard corner L and Gaston. Minus and Gaston is empty space there now. It used to be a corn joint. Where they sold illicit whiskey. I couldn't arrest the individual because politically